In this video, we're going to look at some examples of finding some of the properties of hyperbolas. So example one, we're going to find the exact coordinates for the vertices and foci for each of the following. So example 1a, we have y minus 3 in parentheses squared over 4 minus x squared over 16 equals 1. So let's start by getting a good idea of what this looks like. And here's example 1a. And notice this one is opening up and down. So the branches of this hyperbola are opening up and down and not left and right. And we can tell based on the equation because the y has the positive in front of it and x has the negative in front of it, which means it's going to open up and down for if the y is the positive in front. We're going to start by finding the center, even though it doesn't ask us to outright. The center of this hyperbola is at 0, 3, so you can think of this as x minus 0 in parentheses squared. So 0 and 3. And let's just go ahead and plot that point just because we can get a good visualization of it. So there's our center. Notice our center is going to be the same distance going up to this branch as it is going down to this branch for our vertices. So to get our vertices from the equation, a squared equals 4. Even though 16 is larger than 4, a squared is always going to be below the positive denominator. So if a squared equals 4, that means a is plus or minus 2, which makes sense because we have to go up 2 units to get to this vertex and down 2 units to get to this vertex. So adding and subtracting 2 from the y coordinate of our center is going to put our vertices at 0, 1, and 0, 5, which we can see, hopefully, oh good, it actually kept it there. So 0, 1, and 0, 5. Now to get our focal points, foci, we have c squared is going to equal a squared plus b squared, which we had a 4 and a 16. So adding those together, we get 20. The square root of 20 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 5, which is 2 square root of 5. So when we take the square root of both sides, we get c is plus or minus 2 square root of 5. So our foci are going to be at 0 and then 3 plus or minus 2 square root of 5. So if we plot either of those points, 0 and then 3 plus 2 square root of 5, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. There we go. So notice that this focal point is still inside this hyperbola, much like with parabolas. So, and then the minus would be somewhere down here. All right, moving on. Example 1b, we have y plus 1 in parentheses squared over 16 minus x minus 1 in parentheses squared equals 1. So if you want to, you can put x minus 1 in parentheses squared over 1. Here we have another hyperbola that's opening up and down, which because the y has the positive in front of it, y's positive means our hyperbola is opening up and down, which nice, we can even see that with our graphing. So this one a bit narrower than the last. So our center is at 1, negative 1. So let's go ahead and plot that point, 1, negative 1. Let me zoom in a little bit here. It's okay. And our vertices are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 units above and 1, 2, 3, 4 units below. So this one is not letting me. Okay, I could. Let's go ahead and 1, 3 and 1, negative 5. There we go. Okay. Now to get that from the equation. This time, a squared is the bigger denominator because the 16 is underneath the positive term. So a squared is 16 means a is plus or minus 4. So we're going to add and subtract 4 to the y coordinate of our vertex, or excuse me, the y coordinate of our center, which going up 4 units puts this point at 1, 3, and going down 4 units puts this point, this vertex, at 1, negative 5. So adding and subtracting this 4 from the y coordinate of our center, we get 1, negative 5, and 1, 3. Now for our focal points, we have a squared is 16 and b squared is 1. So if you put this over 1, you get b squared is 1. We get 16 plus 1 is 17. And then take the square root of 17, we get c is plus or minus the square root of 17. And adding and subtracting that value of c, that's going to be square root of 17 units above which is a little bit more than 4, and then square root of 17 units below, which is a little bit, again, more than 4. So we're going to add a little bit more than 4 to the y-coordinate of our center. We're going to subtract a little bit more than 4 to the y-coordinate of our center. And we get our foci at not -1, +1, and -1 plus or minus the square root of 17. So let's just see that. 1, no, not 21, stupid. -1, we'll go minus the square root of 17. So very, very close to the vertex. Very, very close indeed. Not much difference here between the two. So, all right, that about does it for this video. We'll take a look at some more examples in the next one. So I'll see you next time.